Ladies and gentlemen, from the depths of flyover country in the heartland of America, the Kansas City on the other side of the mighty Mo, welcome to episode 32 of Hitting the Bricks with Kathleen, the do-it-yourself genealogy podcast that features your questions and her answers. I am John, your humble hubby host, and we'll be talking about researching your Romani ancestor with a very special guest, tracing ancestor intern Sofia Stewart. So let's start hitting the bricks. So we are here. Welcome, everyone, onto a wonderful Thursday that we thought was Tuesday, but it is actually Thursday. Kathleen has been calling this Friday since Monday of this week. It's been Friday, and finally we get to Thursday after having two Tuesdays, I think, and we're finally at the place where we're supposed to be, and that's with Sofia Stewart here on Hitting the Bricks with Kathleen. All of a sudden, I got the look.
Oh, no look. Sofia Stewart. That's correct.
We're here with Sofia Stewart, and Sophia is an intern for Tracing Ancestors, which is really the umbrella company that houses, and Kathleen, correct me if I'm wrong, A3 Genealogy.
The podcast is actually sponsored by Tracing Ancestors. A3 Genealogy is a partnership. Because of Tracing Ancestors and being on the board, we knew that we needed assistance.
Oh boy, don't we?
For the entire board. Because we are a 100% volunteer board. So the podcast is supported by Tracing Ancestors, and Sophia is our new intern from UMKC, which is the University of Missouri, Kansas City. And we're happy to have her on board. And we just wanted to make sure she's introduced to our listeners, Sean.
Yeah, happy to be here.
And you're in sociology, correct? Is that your... Can you want to tell us a little bit about what put you in that direction?
Yeah. Well, at first it was environmental science. And then I kind of grew into the interest of, studying how society coexists and diversity that comes with it. And, it's so vital to understand sociology so that you can understand the political and the economical side of it as well. You want everyone to coexist, with a lot of microaggressions and so on that can split groups apart. And so I've always been interested in just studying how to understand and kind of promote awareness.
Are you originally from Missouri?
Birth-wise, I'm from Russia, but I was mostly living in Arkansas.
Why don't we start there? Instead of we starting at your degree that you're working on, we're going to go all the way back to Russia. Now, How do you get from Russia to Arkansas?
Oh, gosh. Well, I have these two amazing parents, James and Beth Stewart, who decided to go through the International Agency of Adoption. And I'm actually their second adoptee. So they first adopted my brother from Ukraine, and then he wanted a sister, and then they went to Russia, and it took about a year, they said, to get through the paperwork and the immigration process of it. But yeah, so my parents originally at the time lived in Arkansas. So while they were doing paperwork, they were making visits to Russia. And so finally in May 13th of 2000, I officially came to Arkansas at 5 years old.
Is your brother older or younger than you?
He's much older. He's 5 years older.
That kind of brings me back to your internship. What made you want to do an internship with Tracing Ancestors?
I think when I first came across, through the Mellon program and was introduced to Tracing Ancestors, I always thought genealogy was pretty interesting because it's so important to know your heritage and your ethnicity and your family tree, whether you want to understand your medical history or just who your family members were. I saw an interest in being a part of that because of understanding how people can find their story through DNA.
And I'm going to give you some of that at the end of this podcast. So hopefully our listeners will listen in.
I'm calling you on that. That is the cheesiest radio tease
The cheesiest.
that's ever.
Stay tuned.
It's not even like we got sponsors breaking in. That's just the cheesiest radio tease that has ever been on the program.
That to me
Youch.
too.
Okay.
So, Sophia, I do want to mention this. John, Sophia mentioned the Mellon Grant or Foundation. That is who partners with UMKC, and then UMKC helps to place students who are looking for internships. Mm-hmm. And so we're just one of a huge bucket of people in the Kansas City community area where Sophia chose Tracing Ancestors, probably because we're the best, as far as
No doubt.
an internship program. So we've always had internships within A3 genealogy. There've always been paid internships there. We've had them since 2010.
Your internship program was always really interesting to me and always really kind of impressive. For one of the reasons was it was a paid internship program.
So Sophia, you actually applied directly. The first interview was for grant writing. So why are you interested in grant writing?
Well, I've always had a passion for writing in general. And if this side of writing can help requests for funds for any organization that I feel is impactful to a community and hopefully globally, then I think this would be a really cool way to express my skills and talents and to do something meaningful. You know, I think part of being adopted too is I have that a bit of connection with Tracing Ancestry. And so with having that relation, I feel more inspired and motivated to be a part of it and get other people involved as well.
Sophia, as far as your experience so far, what have you been working on for Tracing Ancestors?
I know I've been playing around with some posters. So I know I sent you that cover of you and John with Hitting the Bricks. And then
Which was a lot of fun. We both liked that.
Yeah, we've used it. It's up on our social media.
And then just kind of seeing what events are out there that we can also be a part of.
So as far as Sophia is concerned, John, do you have other questions about her internship experience?
No, I want to know. I don't care about work. What is this? You're always trying to turn this into like work. And I'm just like, hey, Sophia's coming over. Can we chat? I'm gonna get some more coffee and I want to know about Russia and beyond. I want to know about DNA and that fun stuff. Do you have anything on that? Because I'm going to be so disappointed in this podcast if you don't have a good story here, Kathleen. Now, I'm not worried about yours. Your story, Sophia, is super interesting. But Kathleen, if you don't have a matching genetic story to tell us, it's going to be on.
So Sophia actually had taken her ancestry DNA.
Right.
And so I have had a chance to look at it, but I'm not sure what Sophia does and does not know. She did have some of her adoption papers.
Well, what I do know is that I am 95% Eastern Europe Romani. I am also 2% Baltic and 2% Aegean Islands, as well as 1% Eastern Europe Russian. And that 95% is really on the Romani side. Yeah.
And what do you know about the Romani people?
I know that, the Romani people, they left northern India probably around the 9th or 10th century. And then they arrived in Europe, and they've been throughout Europe for 400 years. Due to like the distrust and the economical competitives, because a lot of Romanis who racial slurs, gypsies, were a lot of craftsmanship. And so that was competitive to other traders. So the more they pushed them outside, the less they were part of, economical benefits of it. So a lot of discrimination and legal prosecution that was targeted to Romani people. The Romani flag is fairly new. I mean, it was officialized in the 70s, I think 1971, 1972.
That's
so,
correct.
I'm a part of a culture who they're very family orientated. They travel together as a big family. And I think they were part of the Dome cast of traveling musicians and dancers.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions just so I make sure I'm not repeating what you already know. You had some birth records. You had your original birth record or the birth record that Russia gave your parents. Mm-hmm. And so you had the names of your biological parents.
I did. Yeah, I was very thankful that.
And you also mentioned that you were adopted. What do you know about when you were born?
You know, in the documents, so the hospital I was at was the Children's Municipal Hospital number 4. And they only state that I was there on the second day since birth. So it seems as though my mother, who was Faina Pavlovna Markova, might have had me at their house. So they had to travel to the hospital, which wasn't close. And imagine that they don't have vehicles because most of them, like I said, are outsiders. If they do, it's a wagon. So it takes some time to get over there. I know that I was in the hospital there for a year. So I was in the care of the nurses and the doctors who were there. No one visited. It specifically says in the documents, no one came, nor the father. And then after a year, I was placed in the orphanage, the Educational and Peta Institution Children Orphanage number 95 is where I was placed until adoption.
Let me ask, without getting too much in your business, do you have any memories of the orphanage or any of your time there prior to?
I do, but I think it wasn't the best memories. Basically, because as a gypsy in an orphanage, you're not going to be treated the same way. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, I have all these other kids who I notice have pale skin, blonde hair, blue eyes, very different. And I was specifically the only gypsy in that orphanage. And there were a lot of, you know, misconduct such as, you know, bullying. And I remember feeling very different in the orphanage. And so when I have 2 people who want me to adopt me from the orphanage, I mean, I was just like, he was listening to my prayers. Like, I want to get out of this place where I feel so like an outsider, which is ironic. I feel like a Romani, an Eastern Europe Romani.
It's still not popular for the Russians to adopt the Roma people or the Roma children.
Skittles.
What's the name of the cat?
Skittles the cat.
Skittles the cat.
She's probably just wanting to go outside on the porch and just enjoy being outside. And she keeps meowing at me. But if I don't stay out on the porch, then she's going to go beyond the porch.
Chill out, Skittles.
That's what I'm saying.
Sit down, Skittles.
She is sitting down now. I think she heard you loud and clear.
I don't want to traumatize the cat. My bad, sorry.
She scares me 90% of the time, so we'll call it even.
So the Romani people who were in Russia were deported to the Siberia area, which is where your family was, where you were born, that area. They were deported to that area in about 1930. They were kind of putting all of the Romani people together. Mm-hmm. Actually, earlier, but by 1930, they were trying to make sure this effort was full blown. It was really started earlier, like 1909 or something around there. Okay, I can look at your first name and tell, based on your birth certificate, your name being Sophia was not given to you by your mother or father. You did arrive at that orphanage, and on the second day, your mother left you. Mm-hmm. She left you when you were 2 days old. The orphanage had to hold you for a year, and then they named you Sophia. And if you notice, on that date, it says September 10th, a year after your mother left. So I know that the orphanage, or the place you were at that time, gave you your name, not your mother, because Russians have a very traditional naming pattern.
They do.
You were named after Saint Sophia, and Saint Sophia was celebrated between September 10th and the 12th. Saint Sophia had 3 daughters. She had faith, hope, and love.
Talking about Saint Sophia, I was raised Catholic. And so Saint Sophia having now 3 daughters, we're into another. So is this
Absolutely. This is Eastern
about?
Orthodox.
Thank you.
If she were named by her parents, she would have been named after a saint, one of the 5 female saints, probably in November. I'm going to write a blog about this, and I will block out your surname, but I will show you on that blog where I'm getting this information. I also already know your grandparents, your grandfather's first names. You were the daughter of Alex or Alexander. I could tell you that just because of your middle name. Because your mother did give them their names. You know, your biological father and your biological mother's name. So I can look at that and say that you were the daughter of Alex, who was a Markova. There's information on Alex. So I happen to know your biological father was the son of Peter.
Of Peter? Okay. And Peter is...
That was his father's name because his name was Alexandrova Peter Markov. I know that you are the daughter of Alexander and that your mother was a Markova. And that name is only popular with Russians and Czechoslovakians. So I have a little family tree for you where you are the daughter of Alex and Faina. Faina means lucky. And her maiden name was Pavel. Her father's name was Pavel. Pavel.
I know that Russia, like they do a lot of patronymics, I think they're called.
That's correct.
Where,
yes.
Like for boys, the ending is like Ovich and Evich. And for girls, it's Ovna or Evna. You know, Russians, they're like the daughters and the sons of saints. I think Kathleen was saying, so Faina is the daughter of Paul or Peter? Of Peter, right. And then Alexander?
No, Alex is his father, is the son of Peter. And Faina says Pavel.
Of Pavel.
She's the daughter of Pavel.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is a very common name. What's not common is Faina.
I didn't know which one was Peter or Paul, but now I'm understanding like how my mother's name is connected to this saint and my father's name is connected to another saint.
That's correct. Also, what happens is we can use that to find and pinpoint the location. If you were to have been named by your mother, you aren't, but your parents were. So at least that's what we have to assume at this point. So we would do the same process of that naming we would do with both sides of your parents. Because this is the area that they did push the Romanians, and they're documented in general.
Do you mean like...
Because they're not Romanians, the Romani people. This is where they push the Romani people, and they're documented.
Do you mean like in the Novokuznetsk area or just the Cameroon Republic?
Nope. We can even go down even further from the Novokuznetsk area. We can go all the way down to the Oblast for your family. And we can go right to that region they were in on the Kazakhstan border. In looking at your DNA, the excitement is you have lots of close cousins.
Yeah, I know Romanis are big families.
Well,
do you mean now? Where are these cousins?
They're everywhere. About the same time Sophia was adopted, one was adopted out. It looks like he has the same, it's possible he has the same father. But let me explain this. Sophia, you have lots of second cousins, which means you share the same great-grandparents. All four great-grandparents on one side. You also have cousins on both your mother and your father's side. Okay. So in doing your research, you'll want to contact some of them. Someone else might have the other piece of your adoption puzzle.
Oh, wow.
You have first cousins twice removed. Now, that sounds difficult, but that means that person's grandmother and your mother might have been first cousins. Okay. So that's 2 steps down, daughter and then granddaughter.
When you say they were adopted out, do you mean like in the same orphanage or in different?
Some of them were in the same orphanage, if you read the writings, or the same area of the orphanage. Mm-hmm. But the idea that if I were to take on a job for this, I would say we need to contact everyone else and let's find out what they have. Then you can actually narrow down to your grandparents very easily.
What time frame, when you start digging into this, what time frames are we talking about?
Sophia was born around 95. Asia. Is that correct, Sophia?
95, yes, ma'am.
Whereas normally we would use an average generation at like 24 years. We would shorten that to about 19, 20 years per generation, just because of their lifestyle and their normal practices. It could even be younger. Mm-hmm. Sophia, do you have questions for me?
You know, recently I found out that the Children's Orphanage number 95 is actually still up and running.
Mm-hmm. Now, remember, a lot of the children that are in there are not like in Sophia's case where the mother just gave them to the place and then left 2 days later. Mm-hmm. A lot of these children are acquired through wars. They were either taken from a parent and the parents are deceased.
Especially back in, I was doing a little research, back in 95, economy was horrible in Russia. I mean, you would expect to get paid on January and you wouldn't get paid until April. Like that's how bad economy was. And like you mentioned, a lot of famine was involved. How would one try to get a hold of an orphanage in a whole different country? I mean, do people use WhatsApp for that, or how does that even happen?
Which app should I use to contact?
You were adopted through an organization. They are your best resource. They will tell you who to contact. So, for example, in America, we have Red Cross. So a lot of times when I'm looking for something that I can't find overseas, but I know the people who are overseas, I might contact the Red Cross. Now, in your case, you're looking at some of the adoption places. You're looking at the Eastern Orthodox Church. So there's so much more information that you can get.
I don't know. Are you aware of the ERRC, the European Roma Rights Center?
Mm-mm. Yes.
Actually, what was bothering me is the time frame. Is that in the 90s there was a lot of forced adoption.
That's correct.
Of Romani children, and that was sticking in my head for some reason, and so that's why I did roll over online, and I did. There's some great explanations and maybe even some direction. And I wonder if they're not an agency that would also be one of the ones that you could use to actually, that would actually have those records, because they've done so much to work against the subsequent discrimination.
I don't know if they would have the actual records, but they would help her have the access to the records. Mm-hmm. They are a good resource. That was my next part, was the ERRC, and my issue was so.
See, this is why we should compare notes, Kathleen. This is why when we were having coffee this morning, I was like, "Do you have anything?" And you're like, "Nah." And you asked me right before we started, "Do you want my notes?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm fine. We'll chat."
So fun. I think it was interesting when John talked about the forced adoption, because when I was looking back at the paperwork, you know, they'll have the names and the nationality. And so when they had, Alexander Petrovich Markova, and then underneath Russian. And then when they had the mother, which is Faina Pavlovna Markova, they also had Russian. They didn't have Eastern Europe Romani on there at all. So I think that's part of like having the possibility for adoption is you have to claim a certain ethnicity in order for that adoption to follow through. Because if the paperwork said for both of them Eastern Europe Romani, it probably wouldn't have even processed through.
Two really good
Most
points.
of the agencies would not have taken you.
Right.
So one of the things they did is the same thing we did in America.
Yeah, the United States has its own horrific past with basically child abduction and then
Right.
sending them out to be
yeah.
rehoming.
You can see that through Native Indians, especially.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right.
Yes, and the Inuit, really horrible stuff that
Yeah.
That is why
you.
they
Yeah,
did
that's
do
the
it,
word.
probably because only thing she did was gave their names when she submitted you to, at 2 days old. She disappeared, never claimed you back. So we know that wasn't through the war. If it was through the war, and they didn't have to wait for a whole year.
I guess I was just
sorry.
surprised. I didn't realize the facility of the hospital, whether it was the nurses or whoever were responsible for the name. I didn't realize it was not given by my mother.
Your mother would have given it in November. So that's your baptismal name, though. Mm-hmm. So you can also start with that church, by the way, Orthodox.
Eastern Orthodox.
Yes, it is registered with the Eastern Orthodox Church.
Oh, wow.
And so 9 out of 10, she can find it by the nearest church. And that's wonderful, too, because you can tell at that point which region within the oblast you're from. What I'm going to do from here is I am going to write a blog on this because I haven't really done...
We know. It's going to be
Russia-
on A3 genealogy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
But, and then I know no one's paying attention to him, Sophia. So I am going to share
Go ahead.
this
Where's your-
because
The chemistry.
You're going to do a blog on this, Kathleen. I'm sure you're going to do a blog on this, Kathleen. Would you like to tell us where we can find that blog?
they can find the blog on A3 Genealogy, John. And he thinks I'm doing a shameless plug.
There you go.
Dinner's going to go so well for you guys tonight.
John, there's 2 things I do want to mention on the podcast. Sorry,
No,
these are white.
gone too far.
These are our
Oh,
wrap-ups.
yes.
These are our wrap-ups.
No, we're out. We're out of time. No wrap-ups.
No more edits.
No, you talk through the wrap-up. Go ahead. No, we have, I know, because I know what you're going to talk about.
What?
The winner of July's My Heritage Complete Package, a $300 value. Is that right?
That's correct.
Because they registered on our link tree.
And it's to Charlotte.
And Charlotte's going to be getting an email, or Charlotte already has, and said, yes, I'd love that.
She has received hers for July, and we have
Yay.
reached out to our
Nice.
August winner, but we haven't heard from them yet.
Okay, when we hear from them, you'll hear from us. That's
One
important.
other thing, yes, 23andMe.
Yeah,
I
let's
put
talk.
a post today. They are having a lot of issues with viability. So I have reminded people once again, John, to do exactly what I had Sophia do, and that is to download the raw data from 23andMe onto their desktop. They can share that to other sites. But if you look at our July newsletter, I believe, I have the instructions on how to do that.
If you download
Right.
it to your computer, make sure it's in 2 different places, one in the computer, one off-site, hopefully. If you use
Right.
Dropbox or Google Docs or something like that. So
That's
keep it in
correct.
a safe place. And if you're me, you'll also have it on an SD card that you keep hidden in a drawer, and then also on a jump drive that is taped to the wall beside
the
your
wall.
computer. Just duct tape to the wall. And the other one that I typically use surgical tape and wrap around my ankle, then and that's where the other jump drive goes. And so, we're
So,
all packed
John,
up. Yeah,
in
we're ready.
between you and your backup issues, can we thank Sophia for being an intern with Tracing Ancestors?
Well, I hope so.
Well, thanks for having me.
We don't
I
want
should
her.
be thanking.
We don't want her to run away. But
No.
Sophia, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Especially thank you for sharing your own personal story.
No.
We're just waving goodbye.
I'm waving goodbye to you, John. Sophia can stay.
I'm hanging up on both of you.
Ice cold. Ice cold.
Well, congratulations, you've made it to the end of another episode. Thanks so much for staying. Thanks to my Heritage and Legacy Family Tree webinars. Thanks to Chewy Chewbacca Brandt, our part-time arenophile and full-time nephologist, for his unwavering lack of interest in anything we're doing. The theme song for Hitting the Bricks was written and performed by Tony Fistknuckle and the Pandemoniums. Watch for their next appearance at the Rathskeller behind the Student Union at Alcorn State University. You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Do you have a genealogical question for Kathleen? Drop us a line at hittingthebricks@gmail.com and let us know.